Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Guitar Tone Tuesday, which is all about why guitar players, in my opinion, should pick up a bass guitar. If only just to dabble, if only just to have it around, just in case you need it. I think it's great to have a bass guitar around. Now, before I forget, don't forget to go down there, like, share, subscribe. It means a lot to the channel when you guys do that. It really helps this thing grow. So just by leaving a simple like, a simple comment, what have you, it really makes this thing move. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. So as you guys can tell, based on that intro jam, I do play a little bit of bass. I don't necessarily play it very well, if you asked a bass player. But I do love playing it. I do enjoy playing the bass. And that's a little tune that I'm writing right now for my band, the Haneman Express, for our next album. So for me, the bass is a songwriting tool, and I love using it for that. By the way, it's been a lot of fun to do these intro jam tracks and kind of work on my bass chops and my drum chops a little bit. I don't do any program stuff. It's all real instruments, and I love playing all kinds of instruments in addition to the guitar. But of course, we're going to talk about why guitar players, I think, should play the bass. So when I talk to my students about ear training, the first thing I say is that if you can't hear the root note, then you can't hear what kind of chord it is that you're listening to. So to me, bass players are, sometimes they're playing inversions, sometimes they're not playing the root note of the chord, but they are usually playing a note that's in the chord. And most often I would say that there is at least some hinting at the root note of the chord. So in my opinion, if you really want to work on your ears and become a more well-rounded musician that can hear the entire ensemble, it doesn't hurt to have a bass around, a cheap bass or a cheap drum set around, so you can learn how to play those instruments at least a little bit to understand what's going on with them. So my personal bass is a Yamaha, I love Yamaha, RBX 270. Sounds like a bicycle or something, right? RBX, I don't know. But Yamaha makes everything, right? It could be a barbecue for all we know. But anyways, this is a Taiwan-made bass. I got this in grade 9 when I was in high school. I think I got it in September of that year. So it's been around for a long time, and I don't know if you guys can see on the camera, but it's got some wear and tear. There's some scuff marks here. There's some scuff marks down here. The body's pretty dinged up. I wouldn't say I've treated it. I wouldn't say I've treated it the best, but the thing is, it's actually kind of been a communal bass. So a lot of people who I know have played this bass when I've had bass players in from out of town, and maybe it was like a jazz gig where they were playing upright bass. Then they would borrow this if we had a few electric tunes. The bass player in my band, Martin Newman, has used this, and when I was in high school, the bass players in those bands often used it when they came over to my house for rehearsals, things like that. And I've played it at gigs too when I've had to play bass. Not that has happened very much. Probably, I'm sure most bass players are thankful that I haven't played much bass on gigs, because I play it very oddly. My hand position is not great, but I'll just go through some of the tones. So this is, it's got like a PJ configuration, meaning this is like a P bass pickup here, the split pickup, and then this pickup back here is like a jazz bass. So I usually play it on the P bass sound, because that's what the bass player in my band, Martin Newman, does, and he plays a jazz bass. So this is kind of reminiscent of his bass, although he has the real deal, a real Fender, But this is, the neck pickup, for lack of a better term. And it sounds really good. This knob right here is for volume. This knob down here is for blending the pickups together. So if I move it to the right, scratchy pots, now it's both pickups together. Okay, and if I move it all the way to this side, then it's just this pickup here, the jazz bass pickup. So kind of your Jaco Pastorius type sound, And then this is just a simple tone control. So you can get that really dark kind of James Jamerson, thing. So I'm not going to bore you guys by trying to play the bass because I'm not very good at it. But maybe I'll show you guys how I like to use the bass. And, to me, learning these instruments is more about hearing how they work in an ensemble setting, Learning the bass has kind of taught me that the kick drum and the bass are often playing together. And I would say, like, in the best situations, every musician in the band is doing something slightly different rhythmically. So the guitar player is doing their thing, the drummer is doing their thing, the bass player is doing their thing, and then they come together in this amazing stew of sound, It's pretty special, So let me just pick up a guitar for a second, and I'm going to just lay down something that I think, maybe will be indicative of laying down a nice bass line. So here we go. So I'm just going to play something kind of funky, and then I'll pick up the bass and play over top of it. And I'll try to show you guys what I'm talking about, how often in the best musical situations, the instruments are kind of filling in the cracks that the other one leaves, and I really like that a lot. So. Okay, there's a loop. And this is how I use bass, it's kind of a songwriting tool for me, So I'll come up with the guitar part first because I'm a guitar player, and then I'll fill in the space a bit with the bass, See how both instruments aren't doing the same thing? Just trying to keep it simple. And I'm kind of picturing what would the drums be doing while I'm doing this, So they're doing very different things, but it's fitting together, And it works really, really, really well. So, I'm not a flashy bass player. My right hand position really sucks. I know I'm a guitar player who plays bass quite obviously. I remember one of my students' fathers came out to a recital show that I was doing with my students, and this guy's dad, he plays at the NAC orchestra. For you guys from afar, the NAC is the National Arts Center Orchestra, and the National Arts Center Orchestra is kind of like it's a big deal in Ottawa, where I'm from. It's a pretty big honor to be part of that orchestra. And he plays double bass in the orchestra. And I said to him, I hope you weren't too offended by my bass playing, because I had to play bass when I was backing up my student. And he said, well, your right hand was supposed to be doing this and it was doing that, and your left hand, it seemed like you were playing everything with one finger, So I was doing all the stuff I tell my students not to do. you know, and I was trying, remember, I was trying for the whole time to rest my thumb here, like bass players are supposed to do, you know, but I wasn't doing a very good job. But at least for me, you know, I can get by. I can get by. I'm a little embarrassed to play it live, but I can get by. And the important thing is that I understand the function of the bass, you know. Who are some of my favorite bass players? You know, I love John Entwistle. I love Paul McCartney. You know, I love all those bass players from those rock bands that really made the song so special, you know? Like, would the Beatles have been the same without Paul McCartney's melodic bass lines? Absolutely not, you know? You know, and I love, like, geez, I mean, there's so many of them. I love John Paul Jones and the way he played in Led Zeppelin. I mean, those bass parts are so cool. And this is what it's all about to me, you know, like I'll put on a record and I'll try to focus in on one instrument. And I think this is what you guys should do too if you want to improve your ears. Try to put on a song 5 times in a row and listen to the keyboard. Then, again, next time around, listen to the guitar. That's pretty easy for us guitar players, right? Then next time around, listen to the drums, you know? Then listen to the bass. And it's such an education to listen to, you know, try to focus on those instruments. And if you have them around, even a cheap version of those instruments, this thing cost less than $300 when I picked it up. You know, it's enough to maybe dig it out and say, I want to learn that bass line, or I want to learn that drum part, or whatever it is, you know? It really, really makes a big difference, I think. So, you know, maybe before you invest in that next 335 or your third Stratocaster, you know I'm one to talk, but maybe think about picking up a different instrument like the bass. So, again, if you've been watching, thank you so much. Please like, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you can see notifications as to when the next videos are coming out. We will see everybody again next Tuesday.